Quantum Prayer. The Secret Prayer Revealed dives deep into the hidden mechanics behind the power of prayer by combining ancient spiritual wisdom with modern quantum physics. This book claims that prayer isn't just a religious ritual, it's a frequency-based, energetic tool that can alter reality when aligned with the right intention and vibration. It reveals how your thoughts, emotions, and focus shape your outcomes through unseen laws of the universe. Introduction. The introduction of quantum prayer, The Secret Prayer Revealed, goes far beyond simply redefining prayer. It opens the reader's mind to a whole new way of understanding reality, consciousness, and divine connection. It starts by breaking down the illusion that prayer is just a religious act, a set of spoken words directed toward a higher power outside of us. Instead, it introduces the concept that prayer is a universal force of creation, a direct energetic interaction with the quantum field, which is the invisible layer of reality where all possibilities already exist. According to the book, this quantum field responds not to begging or repetition, but to vibrational alignment, and that alignment comes from the fusion of thought, emotion, belief, and intent. Every prayer, whether conscious or unconscious, is a broadcast of frequency, and the universe responds with experiences that match that frequency. This means that even your doubts, fears, and worries are forms of prayer that can manifest unwanted outcomes if you're not aware of your energetic state. The introduction explains that the essence of quantum prayer lies in understanding that the universe is not mechanical or material, but energetic and alive, constantly shifting based on human consciousness. It draws from both ancient spiritual wisdom and modern quantum physics to show that everything is interconnected through energy, and therefore, we are never separate from what we desire. In fact, the version of you who already has what you are praying for already exists in the field, and your job is to align your vibration with that version of yourself. This isn't about pretending or forcing belief. It's about deeply feeling as if the prayer has already been answered, and allowing that emotion to signal to the universe your readiness to receive. The book insists that the most effective prayers are not ones where we beg, plead, or even ask. They are those in which we embody gratitude, certainty, and emotional harmony. The universe, it says, is like a mirror, reflecting back not what you want, but who you are being in this moment. So, if you are radiating lack, sadness, or desperation, you attract more of the same. But if you enter a state of inner peace, joy, and completion, even if your outer reality hasn't changed yet, the quantum field begins to organize circumstances to match your inner reality. This is not fantasy. It's described as an energetic principle that governs all of existence. The introduction also dismantles the belief that you need to be good enough or worthy for your prayers to be answered. It says this belief comes from misunderstanding your role in creation. You don't earn blessings through effort or guilt. You magnetize outcomes by aligning your energy with what you desire. It highlights the importance of taking responsibility for your internal world, because that's what sets your external world into motion. In this framework, prayer becomes a personal science, a precise practice of intention, visualization, emotion, and surrender. The introduction prepares the reader to explore the deeper mechanics of this process throughout the chapters, revealing how to tap into this hidden power that has always been within, but rarely understood. Ultimately, the introduction is a call to remember who you really are, not a passive victim of fate or a desperate soul hoping for divine intervention, but a conscious creator who can tune into the divine frequency at will. It says that when you truly understand how the quantum field operates, you stop praying for things to happen and start aligning with the version of reality where they already have. The secret prayer revealed in this book is not a method of control. It is a method of surrender to the truth that you are one with all that is, and your energy is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. This understanding marks the beginning of a transformation, not just in how you pray, but in how you live, think, feel, and create your life from the inside out. Chapter 1. The Nature of Reality. Chapter 1. The Nature of Reality is the foundation of the entire book and one of the most profound revelations about the unseen mechanisms that shape our lives. It begins by confronting the illusion that the external world is a solid, fixed, and objective place, independent of our perception. Most people believe they live in a world governed by physical laws and random chance. But this chapter carefully explains that what we call reality is in fact an interactive, energetic field, a matrix of potential that responds to human consciousness. It introduces the idea that everything in the universe, from the tiniest particles to the most complex structures, is made of energy vibrating at different frequencies. At the smallest levels of existence, everything is in motion, and nothing is truly solid. Even what we perceive as stable objects, stables, walls, our own bodies, are actually clusters of energy that take shape depending on how they are observed. The chapter goes into detail about the observer effect, a principle from quantum physics, showing that the act of observing changes the outcome of what is being observed. It says that reality is not just passively there, waiting for us to notice it. Instead, it becomes real when we give it attention. This has huge implications for prayer, intention, and personal creation, because it means that every moment you think, focus, or feel something, you are actively shaping the reality around you. It emphasizes that thoughts are not just mental activity, they are electrical signals, and emotions are magnetic forces. Together, they create a powerful electromagnetic field around the body that interacts with the larger quantum field. This field is responsive, intelligent, and capable of rearranging physical conditions in accordance with the signals we send out. The chapter dismantles the idea that you are a powerless observer of life, and instead shows that you are a powerful co-creator. It explains how your inner beliefs, subconscious programming, and emotions continuously generate signals that form your outer world. If your thoughts are constantly centered on fear, doubt, and scarcity, the field reflects those energies back in the form of challenges, delays, and limitations. But if you shift your frequency to joy, gratitude, and faith, you begin to collapse a new wave of possibilities into reality. The chapter says that every version of reality already exists in the quantum field abundance. Healing, love, success, and the version you experience depends on which one your frequency aligns with. It's like tuning a radio. The song you hear depends on the station you set your dial to, and life works the same way. The chapter further explains that time is not linear in the quantum world. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously as potential. You are not limited by your history. Your future is not set in stone. The way you change your reality is by changing who you are being right now. You are always broadcasting a signal based on your identity, your thoughts about yourself, your emotions, your energy, and that signal draws matching experiences from the infinite field. This means your personal reality is not just influenced by your environment or circumstances. It is created by your consciousness. If you want to live a different life, you must first become a different version of yourself, energetically. The chapter also touches on the concept of parallel realities or parallel timelines. These are not science fiction ideas, but real possibilities suggested by quantum theory. Every time you make a choice, think a thought, or change your emotion, you shift slightly into a new version of reality. The more consciously and intentionally you do this, the more radical and visible the changes become. The key is not to force the outer world, but to master the inner world, because the outer world is only ever reflecting what's happening inside you. This is why so many people pray, but never see results. They are asking with their words, while their energy is stuck in fear or lack. It emphasizes that prayer becomes truly powerful only when you understand that you are not separate from the universe or from the divine. You are a part of it, and your consciousness is the gateway through which possibilities enter the visible world. The chapter warns against the habit of defining reality only through your five senses. What you can see, hear, and touch is only a small fraction of what actually exists. Most of reality is invisible energy, vibration, potential, and yet it is this unseen dimension that holds the power to influence everything you can see. This understanding changes everything. Instead of reacting to the world, you begin to respond from within. You stop blaming circumstances and begin to ask, what frequency am I operating from? What thoughts and emotions am I feeding daily? What do I believe about myself, about God, about life, and are those beliefs serving me? The chapter urges the reader to become aware of their habitual state of being, because this is what continuously recreates their life in familiar patterns. Ultimately, this chapter is an invitation to awaken from the trance of victimhood and recognize yourself as the architect of your experience. It teaches that reality is flexible, alive, and entirely shaped by your consciousness. Nothing is fixed. You are not a subject trapped in a world of external causes. You are the cause. When you realize this, your relationship with life changes from fear to power, from confusion to clarity, from helplessness to creative authority. Understanding the true nature of reality is the first essential step to unlocking the full power of quantum prayer, because without this realization, you will continue to pray from a place of disconnection, rather than from the frequency of already having received. The nature of reality is not a mystery to be solved. It is a truth to be lived, and once you live it, everything begins to change. Chapter 2. What is quantum prayer? Chapter 2. What is quantum prayer? Takes the reader into a completely different understanding of what prayer truly is by redefining it as a scientific, energetic process rather than a religious or spiritual ritual. It opens by explaining that the traditional concept of prayer, speaking to a higher being and asking for help, often fails to produce results because it is rooted in separation, lack, and desperation. When someone begs for healing, love, money, or peace from a mindset that they don't have it, they are broadcasting the frequency of not having, and the quantum field responds not to the request itself, but to the energy behind it. This chapter emphasizes that in quantum prayer, you don't ask for something outside yourself. You embody the feeling of already having it and align with the energy of that reality. The universe is vibrational in nature, and everything, including your desires, exists as a frequency in the quantum field. The field doesn't understand language or words. It responds only to vibration. So quantum prayer is not about asking, it's about becoming. It's about entering a state of being where you are so emotionally and mentally attuned to your desired outcome that it begins to crystallize into physical form. The chapter explains how every desire already exists in the infinite field of possibilities, not just as ideas, but as actual potential realities. When you pray using quantum principles, you are tuning into the version of reality where your desire already exists, and you begin to vibrate at the same frequency as that version of yourself. This isn't done by speaking or wishing, but by generating the emotional state you would feel if your desire were already fulfilled. You are collapsing the wave of infinite possibilities into one definite outcome through your consciousness. For instance, if you are praying for health, instead of focusing on being sick and asking to be healed, you shift into the emotional state of already being vibrant, whole, and alive. You give thanks in advance as if it is already done. This creates coherence between your heart and mind, and this state of coherence is what communicates powerfully with the quantum field. The chapter goes further to explain the roles of thought and emotion in quantum prayer. Your thoughts send out the signal. This is your intention. Your emotions are the magnet. This is what draws the result back to you. If you think about wealth, but feel fear or scarcity, your prayer is not aligned. It becomes mixed or weak in frequency, and the field will reflect that confusion back. But if your thoughts and emotions are in perfect sync, thinking of abundance and feeling wealthy, free and grateful, you become an energetic match to the reality you desire. This emotional resonance is the language of the quantum field. It's not enough to want something. You must feel as though it's already yours, and live in that vibration every day. The chapter repeatedly stresses that you are not separated from your desires. You are connected to them energetically, and it is through your state of being that you activate and receive them. This chapter also introduces the idea that there is no delay in the quantum world. Time, as we know it, is a perception of the physical dimension, not the quantum field. In the field of potential, everything is happening now. The version of you who is wealthy, healed, in love, or successful already exists. Your job is not to wait, but to match the frequency of that version of yourself, so you naturally shift into that timeline. When you pray as if the result is coming one day, you push it away. But when you pray as though it's already real, because energetically it is, you speed up the manifestation. This is the secret behind instant or miraculous answers to prayer. They are not miracles in the supernatural sense. They are natural results of vibrational precision. The chapter offers specific techniques and mental shifts to help you practice quantum prayer correctly. It teaches that gratitude is one of the most powerful emotional frequencies you can activate, because it signals to the universe that you believe the outcome is already complete. It also highlights visualization, not just as a creative imagination tool, but as a way to build a new neural and energetic pattern that the field can mirror back. But it warns that visualization must be paired with elevated emotions like joy, love, peace, or confidence to have real power. Without the emotional charge, it remains mental fantasy, not quantum creation. The chapter also talks about the importance of surrender, letting go of how and when your prayer will be answered. This detachment is not passive. It's active trust. You know it is already done in the field, and you release the need to control it. This trust allows the energy to flow freely and take form in the most harmonious way possible. The chapter also highlights that quantum prayer requires personal responsibility. You must become the version of yourself who matches the answer you seek. If you are praying for love, you must become love. If you are praying for success, you must feel worthy and ready for success. You can't remain in your old emotional patterns of fear, doubt, anger, or guilt and expect a new reality to emerge. The field doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to who you are being. Quantum prayer is therefore not a momentary act, but a daily practice of inner transformation. It's about mastering your thoughts, regulating your emotions, and choosing consciously to become aligned with the version of yourself that already lives the life you want. In the deepest sense, quantum prayer is not even about getting anything. It's about realizing that you already are connected to everything. It's about stepping into a frequency of wholeness, where you no longer pray to receive, but to remember your oneness with creation. The field doesn't discriminate between good or bad, deserving or undeserving. It simply mirrors your vibration. This truth can feel overwhelming, but it is also incredibly empowering. It means that everything can change once you change your vibration. The chapter ends by reinforcing the idea that the most powerful prayer is silent, felt, and lived. It's not what you say when you close your eyes. It's how you live when you open them. Every thought is a prayer. Every emotion is a command. Every belief is a signal. You are praying all the time, whether you realize it or not. Quantum prayer is the practice of doing it consciously, with love, gratitude, and absolute alignment with the reality you choose to experience. Chapter 3. The Role of Emotion and Intention. Chapter 3. The Role of Emotion and Intention is a powerful expansion of the foundational idea that reality is not just shaped by what we think, but far more by how we feel. This chapter dives deep into the mechanics of how the human mind and heart interact with the quantum field to bring about physical change. It begins by explaining that while intention is the directive force, it tells the field what you want. Emotion is the activating force. It gives your intention life. Without emotion, your intention is like a radio signal without power aimed somewhere, but too weak to create impact. The quantum field is not influenced by what you merely say or think on the surface, but by the underlying frequency of your emotional state. Every emotion you feel generates a specific electromagnetic field around your body. When this field becomes strong and coherent, it begins to interact with the greater quantum field, the invisible matrix of possibility that responds to vibration. The chapter explains that all emotions carry different frequencies, and those frequencies either harmonize with your desires or conflict with them. High-frequency emotions like gratitude, love, confidence, joy, and freedom expand your field, connect you to creative energy, and open the gateway to higher outcomes. Low-frequency emotions like fear, doubt, guilt, shame, and frustration contract your energy, isolate you from flow, and keep you in alignment with unwanted realities. The emotional state you habitually live in becomes the signal you send to the universe, and it determines what you attract. So if you say you want healing, success, or love, but you constantly feel anxiety or unworthiness, you're broadcasting a signal of lack, and the field simply reflects that signal back with more of the same experience. This is why so many people feel like their prayers or affirmations don't work. It's not the words that create change, but the emotion behind them. You can speak positively all day long, but if your emotional baseline is fear, that's the energy the field recognizes and mirrors. The chapter then moves into a powerful explanation of coherence, the scientific term for the alignment between your heart and brain. When your thoughts, intention, and your feelings, emotion, are in harmony, you create a state of coherence in your nervous system. This state is measurable by science, and it has been shown to produce profound physiological and energetic changes in the body. In this state, your electromagnetic field becomes stronger, more stable, and more synchronized with the quantum field. It is in this precise condition that quantum prayer becomes most effective. When you think of your desired outcome with crystal clear focus and simultaneously generate the emotional state of already having it, your mind and heart work as one, and the universe receives your signal as a clear instruction. The chapter goes into the biology of emotion as well, explaining how the body gets addicted to emotional states over time. If you've spent years feeling powerless, angry, or anxious, your cells begin to crave those chemicals, even if those emotions create suffering. This addiction to emotional familiarity is one of the greatest blocks to manifestation. To shift your reality, you must reprogram not just your mind, but your entire body to feel new emotions before anything changes externally. This means you must teach your body what it feels like to be free, successful, or loved in advance of the evidence, because waiting for the result to change how you feel keeps you locked in a feedback loop. Quantum prayer reverses this. You change your inner state first, and the outer world must eventually align. One of the most profound ideas presented is that emotion is the true language of the divine. The quantum field, call it God, Source, Universe, or Creation, does not understand English, Arabic, or any human language. It understands vibration, and vibration is shaped by emotion. This is why deeply emotional, silent, inner states of gratitude or awe are often more powerful than hours of spoken prayer. In fact, the chapter argues that the more emotionally real you can make your inner world, the faster the outer world will mirror it. Visualization, therefore, is not just about seeing an image, it's about feeling it in your heart. The clearer and more emotionally rich your inner experience becomes, the faster you collapse the wave of possibility into form. The chapter further explains that elevated emotions are not only spiritual tools, they are also physiological ones. When you feel gratitude or joy, you release healing biochemicals, balance your nervous system, and even strengthen your immune response. These emotions literally change your energy, your biology, and your field. The more time you spend in elevated states, the more natural it becomes, and your signal to the universe becomes not just strong but consistent. And consistency is what transforms a momentary intention into a lasting reality. You don't manifest what you feel once. You manifest what you feel consistently. To illustrate this point, the chapter discusses practical techniques for generating elevated emotions at will. It might include recalling past moments of true gratitude or joy, or imagining your future with such intensity that your heart begins to respond as if it's already happening. This emotional rehearsal conditions the body to the future, not the past, and sends a new energetic message to the field. The chapter emphasizes that the field always reflects your dominant frequency, not what you hope for, but what you embody. So to change your life, you must practice being the person who already lives your desired outcome. It concludes with a powerful reminder that the fusion of elevated emotion and clear intention is the closest humans can come to direct creation. You are not waiting on the universe to act. The universe is waiting for you to become energetically aligned with the life you say you want. And this alignment is not a gift, it's a discipline. It requires emotional maturity, focus, and a willingness to shift your inner landscape daily. When you do, your prayers are no longer just words. They are commands issued from the soul, carried by emotion, directed by intention, and fulfilled by the field. This is the true power behind quantum prayer. Chapter 4. The Observer Effect. Chapter 4. The Observer Effect delves deeply into one of the most profound and scientifically verified phenomena in quantum physics that fundamentally challenges the way we think about reality, showing that the act of observation is not merely passive, but is an active creative force shaping the material world. It begins by exploring the famous double-slit experiment, where particles such as electrons or photons exhibit wave-like behavior when not observed, but behave as particles in a definite position when observed or measured. This discovery reveals that particles exist in a state of probability or possibility, an infinite range of outcomes until they are observed, at which point the wave function collapses into one distinct reality. This process of collapse is triggered not just by any physical measurement, but by the involvement of conscious awareness, implying that the observer's consciousness directly influences which potential reality manifests into the physical world. The chapter then extrapolates this idea beyond the lab, explaining that in everyday life, your mind and awareness act like the observer in the quantum experiment, continuously collapsing possibilities into your experienced reality. What you pay attention to, focus on, and emotionally invest energy in becomes the reality you live. Your thoughts, beliefs, and feelings are the tools of observation, and they determine which version of your life becomes tangible and real. The chapter further clarifies that observation is not limited to the visual act of seeing, but encompasses all forms of attention, mental, emotional, and sensory. It includes what you think about repeatedly, what you emotionally resonate with, and what you expect to happen. The observer effect means that your consciousness selects from the infinite quantum field those potentials that align with your inner state and focus. This is why when you fixate on problems, fears, or lack, you are effectively collapsing those negative potentials into your experience, reinforcing unwanted cycles and patterns. Conversely, by intentionally observing positive possibilities, visualizing success, feeling gratitude, or anticipating joy, you shift your energetic focus and invite those realities into being. The chapter explains that this principle puts immense responsibility in your hands. You are not a helpless bystander, but an active participant and co-creator of your life's unfolding. The chapter also addresses the implications of the observer effect on beliefs and perception. It points out that your mind acts like a filter or lens that colors your observation. If you hold limiting beliefs, such as, "I'm not worthy," or "things never work out," these beliefs act as selective filters that skew your observation toward confirming those outcomes, a process often called confirmation bias. This means that even if infinite possibilities exist, your internal filters cause you to observe and collapse only those realities that match your existing mindset, trapping you in repetitive patterns. Changing your beliefs is therefore critical, because it changes what you are able to observe and manifest. By consciously choosing new beliefs and redirecting your focus, you can expand the range of possibilities you access and bring new realities into form. The chapter further explores the neurological and physiological basis of the observer effect, explaining that your brain is wired to prioritize what you repeatedly attend to, physically strengthening neural pathways through a process called neuroplasticity. When you observe something with focus and emotion, you reinforce the neural circuits related to that perception, making it more automatic and dominant. This biological mechanism supports the quantum principle because it helps you maintain consistent attention and emotional engagement on the reality you want to create, which in turn collapses that reality more reliably. The chapter stresses that sustained observation, not momentary attention, is what drives the manifestation process in the quantum field. Additionally, the chapter explores the emotional dimension of observation. It reveals that emotions act as amplifiers of attention, intensifying the collapse of possibilities into physical form. Strong emotions attached to your observations increase the electromagnetic field your body emits, strengthening your signal to the quantum field. This is why observing something with passion, excitement, or certainty brings about faster and more powerful manifestations than neutral or ambivalent observation. The chapter warns, however, that negative emotions like fear, anxiety, and anger are equally powerful, so the emotional quality of what you observe must be managed carefully to avoid manifesting unwanted outcomes. The chapter also discusses how mindfulness and conscious awareness practices enhance the observer effect in daily life. By training yourself to be fully present and aware of your thoughts and feelings, you gain the ability to choose your observations deliberately instead of reacting unconsciously to habitual patterns. This conscious observation becomes a form of quantum prayer, where your awareness itself is the prayer, collapsing reality toward your desired outcome. It is a skill and discipline that anyone can develop to increase their creative power. Furthermore, the chapter touches on the collective aspect of the observer effect, explaining that groups of people observing the same reality with shared intention and emotion can have a compounding effect on collapsing potentials into shared outcomes. This helps explain phenomena like mass movements, social shifts, or collective healing, where focused group consciousness accelerates change in the physical world. The chapter ends by emphasizing that understanding the observer effect is empowering, but requires responsibility and intentionality. It shifts the paradigm from victimhood to authorship of your life, showing that by changing what you observe, what you think about, feel deeply, and expect, you literally change the fabric of your existence. This awareness invites a new way of living, where you consciously become the observer who shapes your reality moment by moment, choice by choice, leading to greater freedom, creativity, and mastery over your life's unfolding. Chapter 5. The Science Behind Prayer. Chapter 5. The Science Behind Prayer takes a profound journey into understanding prayer through the lens of modern scientific discovery, revealing how this ancient practice is supported by measurable biological, neurological, and quantum principles that explain its power beyond superstition or blind faith. It begins by examining how prayer activates specific regions in the brain that govern attention, emotional regulation, and compassion, areas like the prefrontal cortex, responsible for focused intention and decision-making, and the limbic system, which processes emotions and memories. These brain activations are not passive. They cause chemical and hormonal shifts that lower stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline, which otherwise impair immune function and increase inflammation, while simultaneously increasing the production of beneficial neurotransmitters and hormones like oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins that promote healing, calm, and a sense of connection. The chapter elaborates on how focused prayer, especially when combined with meditative practices, induces brainwave patterns in the alpha and theta ranges, states associated with relaxation, creativity, and heightened awareness, creating an optimal internal environment for the mind and body to heal and transform. Further, it dives into the concept of coherence, and alignment or synchronization between brainwave patterns and the electromagnetic rhythms of the heart, showing that prayer fosters this coherence, which science has linked to improved mental clarity, emotional stability, and physical health. This coherence generates a measurable electromagnetic field around the body, which interacts with the external environment and even the quantum field of possibility, meaning prayer sends a potent energetic signal that influences outcomes at a fundamental level of reality. The chapter provides evidence from scientific studies where prayer or intention directed at others has been shown to accelerate healing, reduce symptoms, and improve medical recovery rates, highlighting that the effects are not limited to the individual praying, but extend across space through subtle energy connections. It also addresses experiments with random number generators and other physical systems that respond statistically differently when prayer or focused intention is directed at them, suggesting that consciousness and intention can influence physical systems that are otherwise unpredictable, breaking classical laws of cause and effect and pointing to a quantum interaction. This challenges traditional scientific skepticism by demonstrating that consciousness is an active participant in shaping reality. The chapter emphasizes that it is not the specific words of prayer that cause change, but the quality of the intention and the emotional resonance behind them. Prayers imbued with sincere faith, love, gratitude, and elevated emotion produce stronger and more consistent results. Moreover, the chapter explores how prayer supports neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, enabling individuals to change limiting beliefs and emotional patterns by repeatedly directing intention and emotional energy toward desired outcomes. This rewiring fosters new neural pathways that reinforce positive states, strengthening mental and emotional habits that align with healing and manifestation. Prayer becomes a dynamic practice of mental and emotional conditioning, not simply spiritual devotion. The chapter further connects the dots between ancient spiritual teachings and cutting-edge quantum theory, showing how prayer is essentially a form of energetic communication with the universe or the quantum field. It presents the idea that prayer creates a focused vibrational frequency that resonates with the infinite field of possibilities, influencing which potential realities become actualized. This energetic view of prayer reframes it as a scientific tool for co-creating reality, rather than a mystical or magical act. It highlights that prayer also influences the autonomic nervous system by shifting it from a state of fight-or-flight stress to one of relaxation and regeneration, supporting immune function and overall health. The reduction in stress-related physiological damage further explains how prayer can lead to measurable improvements in physical well-being. The chapter underscores that this mind-body connection is central to prayer's efficacy, and that cultivating a consistent practice can lead to sustained improvements in mental, emotional, and physical health. Additionally, the chapter discusses how collective prayer or group intention magnifies these effects, as multiple coherent minds and hearts create a compounded electromagnetic field with amplified impact. This collective coherence can accelerate healing and shift collective realities, supporting phenomena observed in mass healing events and global prayer experiments. Finally, The chapter encourages a holistic approach to prayer that integrates scientific understanding with spiritual wisdom, urging readers to embrace prayer as a conscious, intentional practice grounded in both faith and evidence. It suggests that by harnessing the combined power of focused intention, elevated emotion, and coherence between brain and heart, anyone can tap into the deep science behind prayer to catalyze healing, transformation, and manifestation in their lives and the world around them. This comprehensive scientific validation offers a bridge between spiritual tradition and empirical knowledge, empowering readers to approach prayer not only as a source of comfort, but as a potent tool for deliberate creation. Chapter 6. Breaking the Illusion of Separation. Chapter 6. Breaking the Illusion of Separation deeply investigates one of the most transformative realizations in both spiritual traditions and quantum physics, that the perception of being a separate, isolated individual disconnected from others, and the universe is an illusion created by the mind and societal conditioning. This chapter begins by unpacking the origins of this illusion, explaining how the human ego develops as a survival mechanism that defines identity through boundaries, labels, and distinctions, fostering a sense of me versus them that fragments our experience of reality. However, cutting-edge scientific discoveries in quantum physics reveal that beneath the apparent physical separateness, everything is intricately linked through a vast, dynamic quantum field where particles are entangled, meaning their states instantly correlate regardless of distance. This interconnectedness implies that no being exists in true isolation. Instead, all life shares a unified energetic foundation, continuously exchanging information and influence. The chapter emphasizes that the mind's habitual thought patterns and cultural narratives reinforce this illusion by focusing on differences: race, nationality, status, beliefs, while ignoring the underlying unity that transcends these superficial distinctions. It explains how the feeling of separation creates emotional and psychological consequences such as fear, anxiety, competition, and loneliness, which in turn lead to social conflicts, environmental degradation, and a scarcity mindset. By contrast, when one begins to dissolve this illusion through conscious awareness and spiritual practice, a profound shift occurs in perception. Individuals start to sense their intrinsic connection to others, to nature, and to the cosmos itself. The chapter explores various methods that facilitate this awakening, such as meditation, mindfulness, and quantum prayer, which quiet the egoic mind and allow the deeper, unified self to emerge. These practices help rewire neural pathways, reducing the dominance of the separative ego and enhancing feelings of empathy, compassion, and interconnectedness. Scientific research into brain function supports this, showing that states of compassion and unity activate mirror neurons and synchronize brain activity between individuals, reinforcing the experience of shared consciousness. Further, the chapter discusses how recognizing the illusion of separation changes not only internal experience, but also external reality. When people act from a place of unity rather than division, their intentions and actions align with the collective good, resulting in more harmonious relationships, cooperative societies, and sustainable interaction with the environment. This collective consciousness can generate a feedback loop that amplifies healing and transformation on a global scale. The chapter cites examples of group meditations and collective prayers that have produced measurable positive effects on social harmony and even weather patterns, illustrating the tangible power of shared unity. Additionally, the chapter examines how breaking this illusion affects our understanding of identity and purpose. It encouraged readers to transcend limited self-concepts and embrace a broader identity that includes all life, recognizing that personal well-being is inseparable from the health of the whole. This expanded awareness motivates ethical behavior, altruism, and stewardship of the planet, as harming others or nature ultimately harms oneself. The chapter also delves into the psychological process of confronting and releasing the fear, that underpins the illusion of separation. Fear often drives people to cling to rigid identities and defensive postures. But as awareness deepens, fear diminishes, replaced by trust in the interconnected flow of life. This shift allows for greater vulnerability, openness, and authentic connection. Finally, the chapter integrates insights from ancient wisdom traditions, quantum science, and contemporary psychology to present a comprehensive framework for breaking free from the illusion of separation. It underscores that this realization is not a mere intellectual concept, but a lived experience that transforms consciousness and reality. By consciously choosing to perceive and act from unity, individuals become active participants in co-creating a more compassionate, abundant, and awakened world, where the boundaries that once divided us dissolve into a harmonious oneness that supports the highest potential of Chapter 7. Prayer Without Words. Chapter 7. Prayer Without Words explores in great depth the transformative power and subtlety of a form of prayer that transcends language, words, and traditional verbal expression, emphasizing that the most profound communication with the divine or the quantum field occurs through pure intention, presence, and energetic resonance, rather than through spoken or written petitions. It begins by acknowledging that while words are the primary tools humans use to express desires, gratitude, and requests, they are inherently limited by their structure, cultural connotations, and the filters of the conscious mind. Words carry literal meanings, but often cannot fully capture the complexity, depth, or nuance of the feelings and spiritual longings behind them. Because language is symbolic and linear, it can fragment or dilute the essence of what is truly being communicated, especially when it comes to connecting with the infinite, formless source of all creation. The chapter then introduces the concept that prayer without words arises from a state of deep stillness and inner silence, where the egoic mind pauses, and the heart's pure intentions flow directly into the universal quantum field. In this state, communication happens through vibrational energy, emotional resonance, and subtle shifts in consciousness rather than through mental constructs. This silent prayer can be experienced as a powerful inner presence, a profound feeling of connection, or a wave of unconditional love and trust that transcends mental activity. The chapter explains that such nonverbal prayer aligns with scientific understanding of how the brain and body process intention, and emotion neuroscience shows that emotional states, especially those involving love, gratitude, or compassion, create measurable electromagnetic fields stronger than those generated by words alone. These fields interact directly with the quantum field, influencing probabilities and collapsing potential realities in a way that verbal requests cannot match. The chapter explores various spiritual traditions and contemplative practices that have emphasized the power of silent prayer, meditation, and wordless communion for millennia, showing how these practices cultivate an inner environment of receptivity and openness to guidance and transformation. It highlights that in wordless prayer, the practitioner surrenders control and expectation, allowing the universal intelligence to respond in its own perfect timing and manner. This surrender is a key element, as verbal prayers often come with specific demands or attachments to outcomes, whereas silent prayer invites mystery, flow, and co-creation with the infinite. Further, the chapter details practical methods to access this state of prayer without words, including mindfulness meditation, breathwork, visualization, and heart coherence exercises. These techniques quiet the mind's chatter and heighten awareness of subtle energetic sensations, enabling the practitioner to send and receive messages beyond language. The chapter emphasizes that cultivating this skill deepens spiritual sensitivity and heightens the capacity to perceive guidance, synchronicities, and intuitive insights that arise in response to the silent communication. It also delves into the physiological impact of prayer without words, explaining that the practice induces relaxation responses in the autonomic nervous system, reducing stress and promoting healing on multiple levels. By entering a state of deep calm and focused intention without verbalization, the body's electromagnetic field stabilizes and strengthens, amplifying the energetic signals sent into the quantum field. This enhanced coherence between mind, heart, and body supports more effective manifestation and alignment with desired outcomes. The chapter discusses the limitations of verbal prayer, pointing out that language often involves translating complex feelings into simplified concepts, which can limit the scope and depth of the prayer's power. Silent prayer bypasses these limitations by engaging the whole being, mental, emotional, energetic, and spiritual, allowing for a fuller, more authentic expression of longing and connection. It emphasizes that silence is not emptiness, but a fertile ground where infinite possibility arises, and where the connection with the divine becomes more intimate and direct. Moreover, the chapter examines how prayer without words encourages the practitioner to cultivate a constant state of presence and awareness, transforming prayer from a discrete activity into a continuous flow of conscious interaction with the universe. This ongoing silent dialogue fosters greater resilience, clarity, and harmony in everyday life, making spiritual connection a living, breathing experience rather than a ritualistic obligation. The chapter also highlights how this form of prayer can deepen healing processes, as it facilitates access to the subtle energetic layers of the self and the environment, enabling shifts that precede physical and emotional transformation. It shares accounts of individuals experiencing profound breakthroughs, peace, and insight through silent prayer practices that bypass cognitive resistance and open the heart's deeper wisdom. In addition, it touches on the idea that prayer without words is universal and accessible to everyone, regardless of religious background, language proficiency, or intellectual capacity. It transcends dogma and cultural barriers, offering a direct pathway to the core essence of spiritual experience: unity, love, and presence. Finally, the chapter invites readers to experiment with integrating prayer without words into their daily lives, encouraging the development of a personal, experiential understanding of this subtle practice. It underscores that while words can inspire and guide, the ultimate power of prayer lies in the silent spaces between them, where true communion with the quantum field and the source unfolds, enabling transformation, guidance, and manifestation beyond what words alone can achieve. Chapter 8. The Formula of Effective Prayer. Chapter 8. The Formula of Effective Prayer provides an extensive and nuanced exploration of the key components and energetic dynamics that underlie prayer when it is practiced as a potent, transformative process rather than a mere ritual or habitual request. At its core, this chapter reveals that effective prayer is not random or accidental, but follows a precise and replicable formula involving the harmonious integration of intention, emotion, belief, surrender, and energetic coherence, which together engage the quantum field of infinite possibilities to manifest desired outcomes in physical reality. The chapter begins by dissecting the role of intention, emphasizing that prayer must start with a crystal clear and specific focus on what one truly wants to create or attract. This clarity demands moving beyond vague or wishful thinking to defining the desired state or outcome in positive terms that open doors rather than close them. It explains that intention acts as the directional signal sent out by the mind, shaping and narrowing the vast range of potential realities into a coherent target for manifestation. Following intention, the chapter dives deeply into the critical importance of emotion as the energetic fuel that empowers prayer. It clarifies that emotions are vibrational frequencies that dramatically amplify the power of intention, functioning as the energetic signal's volume knob. Higher emotional intensity, especially feelings of love, gratitude, joy, or faith, increases the signal's strength and coherence. The chapter explains that this emotional charge creates resonance within the body's electromagnetic field, synchronizing neural, cardiac, and energetic systems to generate a unified, potent frequency. It highlights scientific studies that demonstrate how heart coherence, the synchronization of heart rate variability and brainwave patterns, produces measurable changes in electromagnetic emissions and even influences the environment at large, underscoring the tangible power of emotional engagement in prayer. Belief is presented next as a vital pillar in the formula. The chapter carefully unpacks the concept of belief as more than mere intellectual assent. It is a deeply felt certainty, an unwavering trust that the prayer's intention will manifest. Doubt, skepticism, and fear are identified as energetic disruptors that fragment the signal, producing conflicting waves that reduce the likelihood of manifestation or delay its timing. The chapter discusses psychological mechanisms behind belief, such as the placebo effect and self-fulfilling prophecies, illustrating how the mind-body connection and expectation shape outcomes through energetic and behavioral pathways. Surrender and detachment from specific outcomes or timelines form another crucial element of the formula. The chapter explains that while clear intention and strong emotion set the direction and power of prayer, surrender invites the infinite intelligence of the universe or divine source to respond in its own perfect way, often exceeding limited human expectations. This surrender is framed not as resignation, but as active trust and openness, a willingness to accept what is best, even if it differs from initial desires. This openness removes resistance and energetic blockages, allowing manifestation to flow more effortlessly. The chapter also provides detailed practical guidance on how to apply this formula effectively. It encourages creating an environment conducive to focused prayer, free from distractions and interruptions, where the practitioner can enter a meditative or trance-like state of heightened awareness and receptivity. Techniques such as visualization are explored in depth, describing how vividly imagining the desired outcome as already realized strengthens the intention's imprint on the subconscious mind and the quantum field. The chapter recommends repeating prayers consistently to reinforce neural pathways and energetic patterns, harnessing the brain's neuroplasticity to make the desired reality feel natural and inevitable. Physical practices that support the energetic coherence necessary for effective prayer are also addressed. Breath control techniques that slow and deepen respiration help regulate the autonomic nervous system, calming the mind and body to facilitate focused intention. Heart coherence exercises, which involve sensing heart rhythms with calm, positive emotions, are highlighted as especially powerful for aligning internal energies and amplifying the prayer's frequency. Mindfulness practices aid in sustaining presence and reducing mental noise, further supporting clarity and resonance. Scientific findings supporting the formula are woven throughout the chapter, bridging ancient wisdom with modern research. Studies on the placebo effect, psychoneuroimmunology, and heart-brain interactions demonstrate how belief, emotion, and focused intention produce physiological changes that promote healing, clarity, and manifestation. The chapter emphasizes that prayer is a holistic process engaging body, mind, heart, and spirit, and that this integration is essential for its full effectiveness. Real-life examples of effective prayer from various cultural, religious, and spiritual contexts illustrate how the formula manifests across traditions. These stories underscore common patterns, clarity of desire, emotional intensity, deep faith, and surrender that yield transformational results. The chapter warns against common errors such as vague or negative requests, impatience, and conflicting emotions, explaining how these create energetic dissonance that weakens prayer's impact. It stresses that persistence and patience are necessary, as repeated focused prayer strengthens energetic pathways and gradually aligns external circumstances. The chapter also discusses the universality of the formula, asserting that these principles transcend religious, cultural, and linguistic differences and are rooted in universal energetic laws accessible to all. It invites readers to view prayer not as passive hoping or begging, but as an active, conscious collaboration with the creative intelligence of the universe, where human intention and divine response dynamically co-create reality. Finally, the chapter encourages ongoing practice and experimentation with the formula, emphasizing that mastery comes through experience, refinement, and deepening awareness. It concludes by reminding readers that effective prayer is a science and an art, blending clear intention, heartfelt emotion, unwavering belief, willing surrender, and energetic coherence to unlock the full power of conscious manifestation and spiritual connection, transforming both the individual and the world around them. Chapter 9. Removing Blocks. Chapter 9. Removing Blocks presents a comprehensive and deeply detailed exploration of the numerous mental, emotional, energetic, and environmental obstacles that hinder the flow of effective prayer and spiritual connection, emphasizing that the process of identifying and clearing these blocks is fundamental to unleashing the full power of prayer as a tool for transformation and manifestation. The chapter begins by acknowledging that while prayer holds tremendous potential to influence reality through focused intention and energetic coherence, many individuals experience frustration or apparent failure because hidden internal barriers disrupt the alignment necessary for prayer to resonate with the quantum field and bring about desired changes. It explains that these blocks often originate from deeply ingrained subconscious beliefs, many of which are absorbed unconsciously through upbringing, cultural conditioning, past traumas, or repeated negative experiences. Such beliefs create mental filters and automatic thought patterns that limit what the mind considers possible or worthy, causing a mismatch between conscious desires and the deeper energetic blueprint that shapes reality. For example, someone who carries the subconscious belief, "I am unworthy of abundance," may consciously pray for prosperity, but send conflicting energetic signals that block manifestation. The chapter delves into the emotional dimension of these blocks, highlighting how unresolved feelings such as fear, anger, guilt, shame, grief, and resentment create dense, stagnant energy within the body and subtle energy systems, disrupting the free flow of life force and energetic communication. It explains that emotional pain left unacknowledged or suppressed becomes a powerful energetic impediment, clouding mental clarity and weakening the vibrational frequency necessary for effective prayer. This is because emotions carry specific frequencies, and negative emotions lower overall vibrational resonance, making it difficult for higher frequency intentions, such as healing, joy, or abundance, to take root and manifest. The chapter discusses the neuroscience and energetic anatomy behind this, illustrating how chronic emotional stress affects brain chemistry, heart coherence, and the electromagnetic field around the body, thereby influencing how prayer energy is generated and transmitted. In addition, the chapter addresses the role of doubt and skepticism as major cognitive blocks that interfere with prayer's efficacy. Doubt introduces conflicting waves of energy that fragment the coherence needed to collapse quantum possibilities into physical realities. It is explained that while healthy questioning and critical thinking have their place, persistent disbelief or cynicism creates energetic resistance, preventing prayer from gaining traction in the quantum field. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of loss are also examined as powerful inhibitors that cause internal energetic conflict, reducing the amplitude and clarity of the prayer's signal. These fears often stem from survival instincts and past negative experiences, and while natural, they must be recognized and transformed to restore alignment. The chapter emphasizes that removing blocks is a process rooted in self-awareness and healing rather than suppression or avoidance. It encouraged practices such as mindfulness meditation, journaling, shadow work, and inner inquiry as vital tools for bringing hidden blocks into conscious light. Through these methods, individuals can observe their thoughts and emotions objectively, identify recurring limiting patterns, and understand their origins. This awareness creates the possibility of choice and change, enabling healing and energetic release. The chapter underscores that healing is not about forcing positivity or denying pain, but about embracing all parts of the self with compassion and forgiveness, which dissolves resistance and liberates energy. Practical modalities for clearing blocks are extensively covered, including affirmations designed to reprogram limiting beliefs, breathwork techniques that release energetic stagnation and promote relaxation, and visualization exercises that help restructure subconscious patterns by creating new mental images of possibility and wholeness. The chapter also explores energy healing modalities such as Reiki, acupuncture, chakra balancing, and sound therapy as supportive tools for clearing blockages on subtle energetic levels, restoring flow and coherence. The importance of cultivating emotional resilience through self-care, healthy boundaries, and supportive relationships is stressed as a foundation for ongoing energetic clarity. Moreover, the chapter considers the impact of environmental and social factors as external blocks that can reinforce or create new energetic obstacles. Toxic environments, negative or draining relationships, excessive stress, and societal pressures can impose limiting narratives and energies that undermine personal intention and prayer power. Readers are encouraged to assess their environments critically and take intentional steps to create supportive, nurturing spaces that enhance spiritual practice and overall well-being. The chapter further explains how ongoing mindfulness and presence cultivate the ability to notice blocks as they arise in real time, preventing their accumulation and allowing continuous energetic recalibration. This practice strengthens energetic self-regulation, making prayer a more natural and consistent flow rather than an intermittent effort. As blocks are progressively identified and cleared, the chapter describes the transformational experience that often follows: increased mental clarity, emotional stability, inner peace, and a deepened sense of connection with the divine or universal intelligence. This restored alignment amplifies the potency and effectiveness of prayer, allowing intentions to manifest more readily and synchronicities to occur more frequently. The chapter highlights that this process also fosters personal empowerment and spiritual growth, as the individual learns to co-create reality consciously and intentionally rather than being subject to unconscious patterns. Finally, the chapter emphasizes that removing blocks is an ongoing, patient, and compassionate journey rather than a quick fix. It requires honesty, dedication, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths about oneself, but it ultimately leads to liberation from limiting patterns and the full realization of prayer's transformative potential. The chapter closes by inspiring readers to embrace this inner work as an essential foundation for all spiritual practice, ensuring that prayer becomes a powerful, reliable, and life-changing tool for creating the reality they truly desire. Chapter 10. Living in the Answer. Chapter 10. Living in the Answer provides an extensive, deeply nuanced exploration of one of the most profound and transformative aspects of effective prayer, the conscious practice of mentally, emotionally, and energetically embodying the state of having already received the desired outcome, long before it manifests in the physical world. This chapter opens by framing living in the answer as a deliberate shift in consciousness from the common human experience of waiting, hoping, or doubting to a state of full acceptance, faith, and internal certainty that the prayer is already fulfilled. It emphasizes that this shift is not wishful thinking or denial of current reality, but a powerful alignment technique that harmonizes inner belief, emotional resonance, and outward behavior, creating a coherent energetic signature that interfaces directly with the quantum field of infinite potential. The chapter elaborates on the psychological and energetic mechanics behind this practice, explaining how the subconscious mind, which governs 95% or more of human behavior, responds primarily to feelings and images rather than intellectual ideas. By consistently feeding the subconscious with vivid, sensory-rich experiences of the fulfilled desire through visualization, immersive imagination, and heartfelt gratitude, one effectively rewires deep neural circuits to accept the desired state as reality. This neurological rewiring leads to changes in perception, emotional regulation, and even physiology as the body begins to mirror the calm, confident, and joyful state associated with having received what was prayed for. The chapter cites studies from neuroscience and psychoneuroimmunology demonstrating how positive mental imagery and emotional states influence brain chemistry, immune function, and the electromagnetic field generated by the heart, reinforcing the energetic basis of living in the answer. The chapter also addresses the crucial role of emotional coherence in this process. It explains that simply thinking about the desired outcome is insufficient. The emotion behind the thought must be fully felt and integrated. Emotions like gratitude, love, joy, and peace serve as high-frequency, energetic carriers that elevate the vibrational match between the individual and the reality they intend to manifest. The chapter provides detailed instructions on how to cultivate these feelings authentically, emphasizing that emotional authenticity, rather than forced positivity, creates the clearest energetic signal. It encourages readers to remember and relive moments of deep happiness or fulfillment to anchor these emotions in the present moment, thereby priming their energetic system to vibrate in alignment with the answered prayer. Furthermore, the chapter explores practical techniques to facilitate living in the answer, including daily visualization sessions where the individual imagines themselves engaging fully in the desired reality, experiencing the sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and tactile sensations as vividly as possible. Affirmations are also recommended to reinforce subconscious beliefs aligned with the fulfillment, carefully framed in the present tense and infused with emotional conviction. Gratitude journaling is highlighted as a transformative tool that not only celebrates small manifestations along the way, but also deepens the emotional connection to the outcome, fostering a powerful magnetic field of appreciation. The chapter highlights how living in the answer effectively neutralizes common blocks, such as impatience, anxiety, and doubt, by replacing them with trust, surrender, and joyful anticipation. It explains that waiting passively or focusing on the lack of the desired outcome sends mixed energetic signals that can delay manifestation or divert opportunities. Instead, living in the answer invites active participation, where the individual's inner world mirrors the external reality they desire, creating a seamless energetic bridge between intention and manifestation. Importantly, the chapter also discusses how this practice influences behavior and decision-making. When one truly lives as if the prayer is already answered, their actions naturally align with that reality. For example, someone praying for financial abundance will start making choices that reflect abundance consciousness, investing wisely, networking confidently, and pursuing opportunities with clarity and purpose. This alignment between inner state and outer actions strengthens manifestation by creating consistent feedback loops that reinforce the new reality. It cites the concept of cognitive dissonance to explain how the mind seeks to resolve conflicts between beliefs and actions, thus adjusting external circumstances to fit the internal state. The chapter acknowledges the role of divine timing or universal orchestration, reminding readers that living in the answer does not guarantee instant physical manifestation, but rather positions the individual optimally to receive and recognize opportunities as they arise. This understanding fosters patience and humility, reducing frustration and reinforcing faith in the creative process. The chapter further explores the spiritual dimensions of living in the answer, describing it as a form of sacred communion with the creative intelligence of the universe. It explains that embodying the fulfilled state opens channels for intuitive guidance, synchronicities, and energetic support from unseen realms. This connection deepens the practitioner's spiritual growth and expands their capacity to co-create with greater wisdom and grace. To support sustained practice, the chapter encourages integrating living in the answer into daily life beyond formal prayer sessions. This integration includes cultivating mindful awareness throughout the day, noticing thoughts and emotions that align or misalign with the desired reality, and gently redirecting focus back to the embodied state of fulfillment. It highlights how small moments of alignment accumulate over time to create profound shifts in consciousness and external circumstances. The chapter closes by inspiring readers to view living in the answer not just as a technique, but as a transformative lifestyle and mindset that rewires the individual's relationship to reality itself. By consistently embodying the fulfilled state, one transcends limitation, cultivates joy and peace, and becomes an active participant in the unfolding of a life aligned with highest potential and divine purpose. This practice, the chapter affirms, is the ultimate secret to unlocking the true power of prayer as a conscious co-creation with the infinite. Conclusion. The conclusion of the book offers a comprehensive and deeply reflective synthesis of the concepts, practices, and transformative potentials explored throughout the text, reinforcing the idea that quantum prayer represents a revolutionary shift in how prayer is understood and practiced in the modern world. It begins by reiterating that prayer is far more than a ritualistic or passive request for external intervention. Instead, it is a deliberate, conscious act of co-creation that engages directly with the fundamental quantum nature of reality, a realm of infinite possibilities and interconnected energy fields that respond to the focused intentions and emotional states of the individual. This perspective bridges the gap between ancient spiritual traditions and cutting-edge scientific discoveries, merging metaphysical insight with empirical understanding to reveal prayer as a dynamic, potent mechanism for manifesting desired outcomes in life. The conclusion stresses that true mastery of quantum prayer demands an inward journey of profound self-awareness and transformation, wherein individuals must courageously confront and dismantle the subconscious blocks, limiting beliefs, and unresolved emotional patterns that fragment their energetic coherence and hinder the free flow of prayer's creative power. It emphasizes that this inner work is not merely about positive thinking, but involves deep emotional healing, forgiveness, and the cultivation of compassion toward oneself and others, which together purify the energy system and raise one's vibrational frequency to a state receptive to miracles and synchronicities. Moreover, the conclusion delves into the essential role of integrating faith and emotional alignment, explaining that unwavering belief, combined with authentic emotional experience, creates the clearest and most potent energetic signal to the quantum field. It highlights the importance of living in the answer, where one embodies the reality of their prayer's fulfillment with gratitude and joy, reinforcing the energetic alignment necessary for physical manifestation. The conclusion also discusses how this practice leads to tangible changes, not only in external circumstances, but also in one's internal state, bringing peace, empowerment, clarity, and a profound sense of connection to the universal intelligence or divine source. This holistic transformation fosters a resilient mindset that remains steady in the face of challenges and uncertainties, allowing the individual to navigate life's complexities with grace and confidence. In addition, the conclusion underscores the practical nature of quantum prayer as a daily discipline that blends mindfulness, intention setting, emotional regulation, and presence, encouraging readers to commit to consistent practice and ongoing self-exploration. It stresses that this path is a lifelong journey rather than a quick fix, inviting patience, persistence, and openness to growth and evolution. The conclusion further reflects on how this practice expands one's capacity for conscious co-creation, enabling not only personal breakthroughs, but also a ripple effect that positively influences relationships, communities, and the broader collective consciousness. The conclusion also addresses the interplay between surrender and action, clarifying that while quantum prayer involves deep trust in the creative intelligence of the universe, it simultaneously calls for inspired, aligned action in the physical realm. This balance of faith and effort creates synergy, amplifying the impact of prayer and accelerating the realization of intentions. The text encourages readers to cultivate discernment and remain attuned to intuitive guidance and synchronicities that often serve as signposts along the path, reinforcing the interconnectedness of all things and the seamless flow between inner world and outer experience. Finally, the conclusion leaves readers with an empowering and hopeful vision that by embracing the principles and practices of quantum prayer, they awaken to their innate ability to shape their reality consciously and joyfully, transcending limitations imposed by fear, doubt, or conditioned patterns. It inspires a sense of sacred responsibility and possibility, reminding that the power to create a life filled with health, abundance, peace, and meaningful connection lies within each individual's reach. This realization invites readers to step into their highest potential as co-creators with the universe, living not as passive recipients of fate, but as active architects of their destiny, forever transformed by the secret knowledge and practice of quantum prayer.